Most people live under a dangerous illusion that life is meant to be easy, that happiness is the goal, that comfort is a sign of success. But let me be blunt, this is a lie. Life is suffering, pain, struggle, loss. These are not exceptions. They are the rule. And if you try to escape them, if you run toward comfort like a child clinging to his mother's leg, you will remain weak, fragile, and at the mercy of forces beyond your control. The weak avoid pain, the strong use it society has built an entire industry around making you soft. It tells you to avoid stress, to seek balance, to numb discomfort with distractions, entertainment, and cheap pleasures. But those who buy into this illusion end up powerless, enslaved by their own fears, incapable of handling adversity. On the other hand, those who embrace suffering, who welcome pain as a tool for transformation, these are the ones who rise above the herd. What they don't want you to know. Power is not given, it is taken. Strength is not inherited, it is forged. And the forge is suffering. The difference between the great and the mediocre is not talent, luck, or intelligence. It is how they respond to pain. Those who cower before it remain weak. Those who use it become untouchable. Your pain is your greatest weapon. I am not here to offer comfort. I am here to wake you up. The suffering you fear is the very thing that will set you free if you learn how to use it. This is not about surviving pain. It is about mastering it, bending it to your will, and turning it into power. From the moment you were born, you were fed a lie that told you happiness is the ultimate goal, that comfort is what you should chase, and that suffering is something to avoid at all costs. Look around. People drown themselves in distractions, numbing their pain with entertainment, food, and cheap pleasures. But what has it created? A world full of weak, fragile minds afraid of discomfort. The truth is, comfort is a prison. It makes you soft, dulls your instincts, and keeps you from ever becoming something greater. Society doesn't want you strong. It wants you obedient, dependent, predictable. Weak people are easier to control. Pleasure breeds complacency. Suffering forces growth. Think about the moments in your life that shaped you the most. Were they the times you were comfortable, sitting on the couch scrolling through nonsense? Or were they the times you were struggling, fighting, pushing, suffering? Growth never comes from comfort. A muscle only strengthens when it's torn apart. A mind only sharpens when it's challenged. Comfort tricks you into believing you're safe, but what it really does is keep you stagnant. The moment you stop chasing challenge, you start decaying. You become another empty, lifeless person who drifts through life, waiting for something to change. When in reality, the only thing changing is your slow descent into weakness. Why hardship separates the strong from the weak. The strong know something the weak never will. Suffering is fuel. Every painful experience carries an opportunity to evolve. The greatest men in history, the warriors, the leaders, the conquerors, they didn't rise because life was easy. They rose because they faced suffering and made it their ally. You have two choices when pain comes: run from it, hide, numb yourself, escape into comfort like everyone else. Face it and use it. Let it sharpen you. Let it mold you into something unstoppable. Most people will take the first option. That's why most people live small, forgettable lives. But if you choose the second option, you separate yourself from the herd. you begin to see pain not as a curse, but as a gift. Will to power, suffering is the path to strength. Nietzsche spoke of the will to power, the drive to push past limitations, to rise above, to shape your own destiny. This will is not found in comfort. It is forged in suffering. Every great achievement, every act of strength comes from someone who chose to endure pain instead of escape it. So the question is, do you want to stay comfortable and weak? Or are you ready to embrace suffering and use it as a weapon? The choice is yours, but know this: power is never given, it is taken. And it is taken by those who are willing to suffer for it. In this video, you'll learn how to transform suffering and death into a powerful force for growth and resilience. Death, not physical, but psychological. This video about shedding old identities and limitations to rise stronger than ever. Get ready! Most people run from pain like it's a monster waiting to devour them. They numb it, hide from it, pretend it doesn't exist. But here's the truth. Pain is the only thing that forces you to grow. Every time you suffer, physically, emotionally, mentally, you are being given a chance to evolve. Look at your life. The hardest moments, the betrayals, the failures, the heartbreaks, weren't those the times that shaped you the most? You didn't learn from comfort. You learned when life kicked you in the teeth and left you gasping for air. And if you're honest, you know that's true. Every scar, every wound holds the wisdom of endurance. Pain is a test. It shows you who you really are when the mask is ripped away. Most people fail. They break. They surrender. They beg for relief. But the strong, those who understand how power is built, don't just endure suffering, they learn from it. Every scar on your body, every wound in your mind, it's proof that you've been through hell and survived. But survival isn't enough. You must take what broke you and turn it into something that makes you untouchable. When pain comes knocking, don't flinch. Open the door and invite it in. The Übermensch does not endure suffering. He transforms. Nietzsche spoke of the Übermensch, the higher, more powerful version of yourself that can only be born through struggle. This isn't just philosophy. This is how life works. The weak endure suffering like victims. The strong take that same suffering and use it to destroy their limitations. Think about fire. It can burn you, but it can also forge steel. Your suffering works the same way. It can either consume you or transform you into something unbreakable. The difference is whether you submit to it or wield it. Do not curse hardship. Use it as fuel. Here's the secret no one wants to admit. Suffering isn't the problem. Weakness is. Pain will always exist. Life will hit you again and again, no matter how much you try to escape it. The real question is, will you let it crush you, or will you use it to make yourself stronger? Every setback is a lesson. Every failure is data. Every betrayal is a gift that teaches you who you can't trust. If you stop seeing suffering as an enemy and start seeing it as a tool, everything changes. People spend their lives running from the darkness inside them. They avoid discomfort, suppress their rage, and bury their deepest desires under a mask of politeness and obedience. Society tells you that these parts of yourself are wrong, that you should be positive, kind, and agreeable at all costs. But this is a lie designed to keep you weak. Your darkness is not your enemy. It is your greatest source of strength. It holds your ambition, your resilience, and your unfiltered will to power. The ones who refuse to acknowledge their darker nature are ruled by it. Their repressed emotions leak out as fear, self-doubt, and self-sabotage. But those who turn and face their abyss, those who learn to control it, become unstoppable. Those who deny their shadow are ruled by it. Carl Jung called it the shadow. Self, the part of you that holds your anger, your pain, and the primal instincts you've been conditioned to suppress. If you ignore it, it doesn't go away. It festers. It controls your thoughts, your fears, your decisions, often without you even realizing it. You see it in people who snap over small things, who can't handle criticism, who crumble under pressure. They are at war with themselves, terrified of their own emotions, manipulated by wounds they refuse to acknowledge. But when you integrate your shadow, when you accept and control your darkness, it becomes your ally. You no longer fear your anger, you use it. You don't suppress your pain, you sharpen it into discipline. You don't run from struggle, you seek it, knowing that every challenge makes you stronger. Strength is not found in purity, but in mastery of both light and dark. Forget the idea of being purely good. That is an illusion. The most powerful people in history, leaders, conquerors, visionaries, were not gentle saints. They were those who understood both their own darkness and the darkness of others. They did not let it consume them, but they also did not deny it. Think of a lion. It is both ruthless and composed. It does not seek unnecessary violence, but when it is time to strike, it does so without hesitation. You must cultivate the same balance. Learn to control your impulses, but do not be afraid to unleash them when the moment demands it. People fear their darker nature because they don't trust themselves with power. They think strength will corrupt them. But the truth is, weakness corrupts far more. Weakness makes people bitter, envious, and resentful. It leads to passive aggression, self-loathing, and a quiet, festering hatred toward those who are stronger. Power, when mastered, gives you control not just over others, but over yourself. Only by descending into your depths can you rise above others. If you want to become truly powerful, you must take a journey inward. You must be willing to see yourself for who you really are, not just the image you present to the world, but the raw, untamed version of yourself beneath the surface. Ask yourself, what angers you the most? Why? What are you afraid to admit about yourself? What emotions do you suppress? Where does your deepest pain come from? What part of yourself have you been too afraid to embrace? Most will avoid these questions because they are uncomfortable. But those who dare to confront them gain something far greater: clarity, control, and the ability to shape themselves into something far beyond the average person. Do not run from your darkness. Master it. It is your hidden weapon, your greatest source of power. Those who understand this truth will always rise above those who fear it. Pain is a universal law, like gravity. It doesn't care who you are. It will come for you, break you, rip you apart. The question is, will you let it? Most people do. They crumble. They drown in self-pity, looking for someone to save them. But the strong, they don't just endure pain, they bend it to their will. You think your suffering is a curse? No, it's a weapon. And if you learn how to use it, nothing will stop you. Your mind is a forge. Your anguish, the fire that tempers your will. Ever heard of emotional alchemy? It's the process of turning pain into power. You take your suffering, your anger, your heartbreak, your failures, and you transmute it into something useful. Got betrayed? Good. Now you know who you can't trust. Lost everything? Perfect. Now there's nothing left to lose, which makes you dangerous. Feeling hopeless? Excellent. That's the ground floor of reinvention. You are not broken. You are being forged. Your suffering is the heat. Your mind is the metal. Resilience is not inherited. It is built through conscious suffering. People love to tell themselves that some are just born strong. That's a lie. Strength is built, and the currency is pain. The truth is, suffering is training, but only if you see it that way. The weak ask, "Why is this happening to me?" The strong ask, "How can I use this?" Every hardship is a lesson if you have the courage to learn. Every wound is a test if you have the guts to pass. Every failure is an opportunity if you have the will to keep going. Most people quit because suffering makes them uncomfortable. But the ones who embrace the discomfort, they become unstoppable. How to transmute pain into motivation, dominance, and unbreakable self-discipline. Here's the real secret. Your pain is the most powerful fuel you'll ever have, but you need to know how to use it. Step 1. Own your darkness. Stop running from your anger. Stop suppressing your pain. Face it. Accept it. Let it sharpen you. Step 2. Attach it to a mission. The most powerful people in history were fueled by pain. They didn't just move on, they channeled it. You want to build a legacy? Take your suffering and turn it into a purpose bigger than yourself. Step 3. Weaponize it against weakness. Next time you want to quit, remember your suffering. Let it be the fire that burns away your excuses. Use your pain as a reminder that weakness is no longer an option. Step 4. Never stop forging yourself. The process never ends. If you stop embracing struggle, you will rot in comfort. Keep pushing. Keep evolving. Pain is the price of power. Will you let pain break you or build you? Most people are slaves to their suffering, but not you. If you're here watching this, then you know you're different. You're ready to take control. The world wants you soft. It wants you weak, afraid, dependent, but you were built for more. The only question is, are you ready to use your suffering to become something greater? Subscribe now, because this is where the strong are made. Now we are moved forward. Most people are terrified of real strength. Why? Because it reminds them of their own weakness. Society conditions you to stay soft, obedient, and dependent because a weak man is easier to control. From birth, you're taught to conform, to seek approval, to avoid standing out. But who benefits from that? Not you. The system thrives on keeping people mediocre. It tells you suffering is bad, that struggle is unfair, that success should be handed to you. But the truth is, the strongest men in history, the ones who changed the world, did not seek comfort. They sought power, and power only comes to those who reject the herd. Pity and victimhood are traps. Look around you. The modern world celebrates victimhood. People are encouraged to see themselves as oppressed, wounded, and helpless. Why? Because a man who sees himself as a victim is a man who has already surrendered. He won't fight back. He won't claim his place in the world. He will stay weak, waiting for someone else to save him, but no one is coming to save you. No one owes you anything. And the moment you realize this, the moment you reject the identity of a victim, you become dangerous. Because now, no one can manipulate you with pity. No one can guilt you into submission. You are free to take what you deserve. Independence is power. Most people fear being alone. They fear standing apart. But true power comes from self-reliance. When you can stand on your own, when you need nothing from anyone, you become untouchable. The herd moves in packs because they are weak, they need validation, they need reassurance. But the strong man moves alone. This doesn't mean isolation. It means sovereignty. It means knowing that you are enough, that your strength comes from within, not from the approval of others. It means breaking the chains of dependency and stepping into a level of freedom most will never know. Why the herd will turn against you. The moment you rise above, people will hate you for it. Not because you've done anything wrong, but because your strength is a mirror reflecting their weakness. Your ambition makes them uncomfortable. Your refusal to conform makes them resent you. Expect resistance. Expect people to call you arrogant, selfish, cruel. They will try to shame you into stepping back into line. But that's the test. If you give in, you prove them right. If you keep going, you prove them wrong. The path of the strong is lonely, but worth it. Not everyone will understand you. Not everyone will support you. And that's fine. Greatness has always been a lonely road. The people who follow the herd will never experience the raw, untamed power of a man who owns himself completely. They will never know what it feels like to be truly free, but you will. If you have the courage to reject their weakness, to refuse their pity, and to embrace your own power, you will become unstoppable. The choice is simple: stay in the herd and remain weak, or step away and become something greater. Most of us fear death, but the real tragedy is never allowing yourself to be reborn. The old version of you, the weak, hesitant, comfort-seeking version, must die. That version was created by society, by fear, by past failures. You must kill it. And here's the uncomfortable truth. This process is agonizing. It means facing every insecurity, every failure, every painful truth you've been avoiding. It means breaking yourself down, not with self-pity, but with brutal honesty. Most people will never do this. The destruction of old beliefs, old fears, and old limits is necessary for transformation. I'm not good enough. Kill that thought. I can't handle pain. Prove yourself wrong. Success is for other people. Who told you that? Why do you believe it? Your suffering holds the answers. Every painful moment you've experienced has been a lesson. Did you learn from it, or you let it break you? Because here's the difference between the weak and the strong. The weak let suffering define them. The strong use it to redefine themselves. Pain is your executioner, but also your liberator. Most people beg for relief when they suffer. They turn to distractions, alcohol, social media, meaningless relationships, anything to avoid feeling the full weight of their pain. But that's the exact moment where transformation happens. Instead of running, sit with your pain. Feel it fully. Let it carve into you, because that's where your real power is buried. That's where your old self dies, and the new self is born. That's where you stop being a victim and start becoming dangerous. Most people want the reward without the suffering. They want the strength without the struggle. That's why they stay weak. Embrace your suffering, for it is the doorway to your rebirth. The moment you stop fearing pain is the moment you become unstoppable. No more avoiding, no more numbing yourself, no more waiting for permission to be great. The pain you've endured is not your enemy. It is your ally. It has been sculpting you, preparing you for something greater. but only if you use it. Now, the question is, are you ready to die and be reborn? Or will you cling to the version of yourself that's too afraid to evolve? Drop your thoughts below. Let's see who's truly ready. So here we are. You've walked through the fire, or at least you've stared into it. Now comes the real question. Will you keep running from pain, or will you finally face it and make it your ally? Most people live their lives in fear of suffering. They numb themselves with distractions, drown in self-pity, or beg the world for an easy way out. But ease is a trap. The moment you stop fearing pain, you become unstoppable. Suffering isn't here to destroy you, it's here to shape you. Every wound, every betrayal, every moment of despair holds raw power. Power that most waste on complaining, but the wise learn to convert into strength. The world doesn't want you to know this. Weakness is profitable. Fear is controllable. The moment you stop playing the victim and start using your suffering as fuel, you become something society can't manipulate. And that's terrifying. To them, not to you. You've been told to avoid suffering, to seek comfort. But comfort kills ambition, and fear of pain keeps you in chains. So, what's it going to be? Stay weak, stay afraid, stay lost? Or, finally, take what's yours by embracing the very thing you've spent your life avoiding. The choice is yours. But if you truly want to be powerful, you already know what you have to do.